Good afternoon. This video is going to be presented with great sorrow, sadness, but with a deep feeling of duty. I'm going to expose and denounce a person who must be respected, whose virtue and wisdom in many cases should be recognized, but God's love is more important. And our sages taught us that when there is a desecration of God's name, all the boundaries should be removed, all personal boundaries, all intellectual boundaries, emotional boundaries. I'm going to denounce a person to whom I was attached emotionally, although I haven't seen him in my life. I owe him some deep understanding of certain aspects of God's light, of nature, and God had. His name is Shradalu Ranade. Those who study the great works of Sri Aurobindo probably listen to some of his lessons, lectures, and were deeply enriched by them. I spent hundreds of hours myself accompanying Shradalu Ranade. I found in the past some mistakes, discrepancies, but this time there was what we call desecration of God's name. Now, what I'm talking about, it's not that he was sitting and committing some blasphemy, although this was the case at the end. No, of course not, and there's no anti-Semitic slant there as well. No. We are facing here deep ignorance, lack of understanding, which led Shradalu Ranade to some sayings which need to be denounced. I left my comment to him saying that it's better for him to apologize, but a few days passed, he did not. And I'm going to confront him now. On what matter? And some of his questions and answers sessions, one of the last of them, was dedicated to nation, gender. Actually, he began with a refusal to denounce homosexualism, which is bad enough. Now, this is not our subject today. He was saying that children should not be sexualized, but he doesn't care what sexual orientation of grown-ups. And it's bad thing to say. I mean, you can be ascetic, you can be more worldly oriented, whatever, but you never suggest that homosexualism is something neutral. You never do it. If you do it, you just tear apart whatever you're trying to teach about Purusha Prakriti using Sanskrit and everything else. It's just a shameful behavior of somebody who is trying to be politically correct. But I will go much further. When we're talking about desecration of God's name, we're not just about blasphemy. No. When somebody is trying to diminish God's influence, trying to prevent God's light and mercy and bliss entering the world, they would desecrate God's name. You take away the feeling of sanctity, you desecrate God's name. You prevent his influence to be implemented in the world, you desecrate God's name. And that's exactly what Shraddha Ranade has done recently. Again, a few days ago, everybody can watch and see and hear. Now, what he was saying. First, he started making claims that Tanakh, the Bible, the Old Testament, what they call it. By the way, when they call it the Old Testament, I mean, they don't understand that by using this term, they're already committing certain blasphemy. I mean, don't talk about it if you don't know what it is about. But the term actually ancient, even not ancient, Atik Yomin, means in Aramaic, in the book of Daniel, the highest level of God's revelation. So don't say old, meaning that the time has passed. Now, we are here reviving the biblical prophecies in the most certain way on the land of Israel. So no Old Testament. You can say the word ancient, yes. Ancient in the meaning of God's highest revelation. It's, by the way, as he was saying that the law of Moses was rigid, robust, and this is how he described the 5 books of Moses, saying that then, well, the prophets came and they were talking more about morality and some social justice. I mean, one needs to be absolute ignoramus to say something like this. Just open book of Genesis, try to think about it, try to ponder, and some other books. Of 5 books of Moses, each one of them is full of mystery, is full of metaphysical truth on the highest level, and the one who sees only this superficial outward surface, it's less than to be ignorant, it's to be viciously ignorant. Viciously. Then to say that the prophets, they corrected somehow the spirit of 5 books of Moses, what kind of statement is that? The 4 prophets called for everybody to implement what has been given by God to us through 5 books of Moses. And the prophets were not just prophets in this primitive sense as modern people understand it. They were forecasting the future. No, they were revealing God's way of implementation, God's way of influence. They were showing us how the Lord guides us, governs us, and leads us to spiritual enlightenment. This is what Bible is about. Of course, you have also certain layers of Talmud, and then you have Kabbalah, which is the most ancient spiritual tradition. Derives directly from Adam. It doesn't mean that everything which is called today Kabbalah was historically somehow fixed by the first human being on the earth, Adam, whoever he was. Not this. Not this. We are talking about the ancient tradition, which parts of it reached India as well. Now, well, not just that, Shraddha Ranade then went further, saying that what they call it, I can't pronounce it because they call it in an absolutely wrong way, Jehovah, as they call it, God in Bible. He was so full of rage and violence, something like that, that he quotes whom they call the mother, quoting her as if she had said that this God of Bible, Jehovah, was a head of Asuras. Now, Asuras, these are basically fallen, low forces. This is desecration of God's name in the most direct way, and everybody should join me in this protest. We must denounce it. I don't know whether Mira Alfasa said it or didn't say it. I don't think she was as ignorant as Shradalo Ranade pretends to portray her. Probably not. It's important, I've studied all Sri Aurobindo's points about Judaism, Torah, Bible, Israel, Kabbalah, everything. I've gone through everything which exists written by Sri Aurobindo, who was a great Indian sage of the 20th century, one of the holiest rabbis of our time, described him that not just holy, but the holiest of the holy. Sri Aurobindo was somehow revealing the same realms of truth as Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, Ramchal, and you can find similarities with Rav Kook. But Sri Aurobindo gave us this great revelation called the Life Divine, and each one should study it. I don't know what Mira Alfasa knew about Judaism, despite the fact she was Jewish. She was totally assimilated. I know that Aurobindo himself didn't have any slightest idea of Kabbalah and spiritual Judaism. He was very sympathetic towards the Jewish people, very sympathetic, and he was very sympathetic towards our prophets, Bible, everything. He mentions it in a very good spirit, but somehow, for whatever reason was, he never studied not Zohar, not any inner part of Torah. But I mean, he was nevertheless enlightened and positive. I remember him saying, it was somewhere late 30s, that the Jewish tradition speaks about golden age for mankind when Jews will gather around Jerusalem. So he saw this sign of Jews coming back to their land as a great spiritual manifestation. This Sri Aurobindo, I can bring more very positive quotations from Sri Aurobindo, but he never met anybody in the Jewish world who would be his counterpart in terms of metaphysics and spiritual teaching. Happens, but this kind of blasphemy which we heard from Shradalo Ranade, he spoke about the name, what they call Jehovah. It's what is tetragrammaton. The name Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. Now, this name of 4 books, 4 letters, represents the tree of life, the infinite entrance of the world. Whatever is holy upstairs enters the world through these 4 letters. Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. This is the holy name of mercy, enlightenment, spirit, no duality, no duality. It's the upper realm of apprehension of God. It's above the name God, by the way. When you say God, you can say also gods, different forces. So, and Yud Hey Vav Hey is the name which unites everything on upper level, connected to what, by the way, Indians call Brahman. We will call it Ein Sof. So the man touched the holiest name with blasphemy, with ignorance, with total ignorance, stupid ignorance, and it should be said. And we're not talking about somebody, a journalist, we're talking about someone who revealed us certain realms of Sri Aurobindo teaching, and it's highly recommended. But somehow he went astray now. We should ask him to stop and to apologize and to clarify his mistakes. If not, we just should say goodbye to Shraddhalu Ranade. I hope that we will not say goodbye to him, but we will meet with him in Jerusalem for God's sake, for God's love, being disciples of Adam, Abraham, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Akiva, Sri Aurobindo. We'll meet in Jerusalem. I hope so.